Testing your code brings a wide variety of benefits. It increases your confidence that the code behaves as you expect and ensures that changes to your code won't cause out any regression. So, writing and maintaining up the test is actually a hard work. So, you should leverage all the tools at your disposal to make it as painless as possible. PyTest is one of the best tools which you can use to boost your testing productivity. So, hello everyone, my name is Shambhavi, and here we bring you a tutorial on Introduction to PyTest from Great Learning. So, into this respective tutorial, you will be getting a very clear idea regarding the PyTest, how to write up the test, and how are the tests executed, how the suite of tools actually work. Each and everything will be covered up right into this tutorial today. So stay tuned and let's get ahead with the things for today, and let's check out the agenda that what are we going to follow up.
If you haven't subscribed for our channel yet, I would request you to hit the subscribe button and turn on notification bell so that you don't miss any new updates or video releases from Great Learning. If you enjoy this video, show us some love and do like this video. Knowledge increases by sharing, so make sure you share this video with your friends and colleagues. Make sure you comment on this video. Any queries or suggestions, I'll be more than happy to respond to all of them.
Hello everyone, my name is Shambhavi. Hope you all are doing well. So, right here today we're going to start out a new topic for understanding, and that respective topic is PyTest. Okay, so we'll be going to the PyTest in very much detail. That what is that exactly, what are the advantages of using PyTest, what it is used for, and all the complete detail I'm going to give you right here. So the PyTest topic is divided into two further modules. The very first module which I'm going to discuss right here is the introduction to PyTest. Okay, so it has been divided into two modules. So the very first one is the introduction to Python. So I would take you over this first of all regarding that what's the intro to Python, and then after that we'll be moving towards the second module, and that is some sort of hands-on and some more different things regarding the PyTest only. Okay, so hope I'm very much clear with this regards that how are we going to proceed up at this respective place. So now I just want to take to the next slide where I have decided that what's the agenda that we're going to follow up for this respective module. Okay, so first of all we are going to discuss out that what is PyTest actually. Secondly, we are going to see out the features of PyTest, that what are the different features which we have here in the PyTest. Okay, so we'll be moving towards the advantages of PyTest, that what are the advantages, like what are the reasons that why you should use up the PyTest. And here at the last of this respective module, we're going to see that how you could install up the PyTest. So it covers up the installation of the PyTest. So these are the four topics which we are going to cover in this respective module, and that is introduction to PyTest. So hope I'm very much clear with this respective thing. Let's move forward with the very first topic first of all, that what is PyTest. Okay, now I just want to guess a small thing here, that you must have listened about the name of the PyTest. Either you are not aware of that what respective this particular thing is, or what's the use of this, some cases like that, but you must have heard about this PyTest. So PyTest, what it is, it's a testing framework which is used to perform out the different types of tests. Okay, now that different types of tests, as we know that whenever we are making out any application or whatever you are dealing with, whatever new you are making, so we just try to pass on some test cases onto that, so that whatever the application has been made by us, so before going into the market, that's completely bug free and that's completely available for the users to use that out, right? This is what we do. So how do we do out that test cases? So in that respective case, the PyTest is one of the frameworks which is used to perform out the different test cases, different types of tests for your application, whatever has been made out by you. Okay, so PyTest is a sort of testing framework which is used to do out the test. Okay, test means that test means you will be giving out some test cases regarding your application or regarding your software, whichever has been made out by you. And so why we just do that out? As I mentioned, we just do that out so that whatever the content you are giving or whatever the application you are launching in the market, that's completely bug free, and whatever the applications, whatever things you have added onto that, those are completely running absolutely fine. Okay, so this is the idea for performing up the test. Okay, second, it allows you to easily write the test and perform them. Now, PyTest is one of the testing frameworks in which you could write out the test very easily. Okay, it's very convenient, it's very easy to write the test using this PyTest, and it's very as easy and convenient to perform those tests as well. Okay, so as I said that it is very easy to write the test, in that respective case we could say that the PyTest is a very easy tool as well, right? Because if it is basically easy to write up the test and perform them, then in the PyTest it is only the thing which you do with the help of the PyTest library, right? You simply write up the test and you simply perform them out. So when both of these cases are actually covered up, so in that respective case we could very easily say that PyTest is one of the libraries which allows you to easily write the test and perform them as well. Okay, so hope I'm very much clear with this respective thing. Next, we are having that for like PyTest could actually be used for building a simple test in a very easy manner. Okay. Now let's say you just want to build out a very simple test. So in that respective case, with the help of the PyTest library, you could build up that simple test in a very easy manner actually. Yeah. So actually when I mentioned up above in the above point that it is easy to write the test and perform them, so in that case, it is a correlated sentence which I am right now speaking, that you could simply build up the scalable test in a very easy manner. Okay, and it is a tool which automatically finds the written test value and runs up the test. So whatever the test has been written out by you, so it automatically finds that out and it run out those respective tests. Okay, so PyTest is a sort of tool which can automatically find out whatever the test case tests are actually written by you, and it simply runs those tests as well. Fine. So this is completely what PyTest is actually used for. It's especially used for performing on the test cases and the test, and why it is actually preferred up. So because it is one of the tool which is very easy to test and perform the test, and it's the tests are very easy to write there, and it's having a very easy manner for writing up the test, and it can automatically as well find out the tests which are written by you, and it runs out that respective test as well. Fine. So hope I'm very much clear with all of these 4 points mentioned here regarding that what PyTest actually is. Now let's discuss out that what are the features of PyTest. So here we have some 4 features of PyTest which I have listed up here. Let's go through them each line by line. Okay. So first one, PyTest includes useful plugins. Okay. So actually, PyTest is one of our testing framework, one of our tool which as well includes out the useful plugins. So at the time of using them out, you could simply use those plugins regarding what are the function you have to perform using that. Okay, PyTest does not need any API to use. Okay, now in this respective tool, PyTest tool, or you call it as library, you call it as tool, you call it as framework, whatever you could call that out. So PyTest does not need out any API to use. Okay, so it's not the case that every time you need to insert up some sort of API, and after that only you could work with the rest of the things which are in the PyTest, or after that you could run up the test, or you could write the test. It's nothing like that in PyTest. Okay, it's a very simple and a very easy to use tool actually. So in that perspective, you as well do not need out any of the APIs here. Okay, next, PyTest is used to run the unit and the doc test. Now there are 2 types of tests. First one, unit test. Maybe you have heard about unit testing as well, right? So PyTest allows you to run out the unit test and the doc test. Okay, these are the 2 types of tests, two sort functions of tests which you have out here. So yes, PyTest actually allows you that yes, using the PyTest you could write up the respective code, and you could run up the unit test and the doc test as well. Okay. Next, PyTest can be written as a method or a function. Now, PyTest can be written. Okay, let's say you want to perform out a test for any of the cases, right? So now in that case, what you could do, you could simply make up a method or you could make up a function. Okay, that's with the help of the PyTest only. So it's not that case that PyTest shall only be written using a function or only shall be written using a method or any specific thing like that. With a PyTest, you could write up the PyTest in a form of a method or in a form of a function as well. So whatever the type of work you are doing or whatever you are actually comfortable with, you could write the PyTest in according to that as well. Fine. So these are some features of PyTest which we are having up here. So let me go through them once again at this place. At first, of all, PyTest includes out the useful plugins. Plugins you could call that as if I say in a very simple manner, so you could call the plugins as an extensions as well. Okay, so that's the idea. Then PyTest does not need any API to use. So you do not need out any API to use up the PyTest. It simply is a very simple tool actually. You have some installation process, you install that out, and after that you could simply go ahead and use out that respective PyTest to write up your code. Okay, you do not further need out any API or any special tool access to write up the PyTest and all those things, right? It's not at all needed in this respective case. So that's why actually it is one more thing said that's one of the easy tool. Okay, that's why in the previous slide that was what is PyTest, I mentioned up that it is very easy to write up the test and run in the PyTest too, right? That was only the reason in which I mentioned up this statement, that why was it very easy to run and write up the test. This is only the reason for that respective thing. Okay, that it doesn't need out any API. Next, Python is used to run the unit and a doc test that I already mentioned up, that there are two types of tests. First one is a unit test and second one is a doc test. So PyTest is used for running out both of those tests. And last but not the least, PyTest can be written as a method or a function. So PyTest is one of the tool, a framework, whatever you say out. So in the PyTest, you could declare a method or you could declare a function as well. No queries or no issues in that case. Okay. So hope I am very much clear. Now we'll be discussing about the advantages of PyTest. That what are the advantages? So the advantages of PyTest are listed here. Let's go through them each line by line. Okay. So the very first advantage of PyTest is that it is free and open source. Yes, that's the first and the foremost very important advantage I would say actually. That it's free and open source. It means that it doesn't ask you regarding any of the money, anything regarding that for the installation actually. Okay, simply you have a very simple command. Simply write out that respective command, and you get out your PyTest installed for your device, and then you could go ahead with and perform your test or whatever that you just want to could go ahead with that. Okay, so it is free and open source as well. Open source means that it has its official library as well, official website as well. So you could just go and there you have a huge documentation regarding the PyTest. So you could go and you could go through those documentations and learn about the PyTest as well. Okay, so it is free and open source. Next, you have that it allows you to run multiple tests in parallel. Okay, it allows you to run up the multiple tests in parallel. Let's say you want to run one or two tests at one single time. Okay, no, it's not possible for you to run up two single tests at one single place and at one single code. It's not possible for you to run both of those tests, right? So the PyTest is a framework. It's a tool, or you call it as a library, which allows you to run multiple tests in parallel. Okay, it means that you could run 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 n number of tests at a single time. Okay, whatever the number of tests at single time you want to run, you could run all of them at one single go. Okay, so this is one more very important feature which you have up here into the PyTest library. Next, it allows you to run an entire subset of the suite of tools. Okay, if you remember about the suite of tools, we have learned about the Selenium at some sort of time. So Selenium has some suite of tools. It has four suite of tools which we have out in the Selenium. So it's WebDriver, it's RC, it's i.eWe. So we have like these suite of tools here onto the Selenium. So in that way only it is saying that you could run an entire subset of the suite of tools. So this PyTest is one of the library which allows you to run out those sort of tools as well. So you could as well use up and run out the entire subset of those sort of tools. Okay, so hope I'm clear with that. Next, it is having a very simple syntax, thus easy to learn. So the syntax which you have in the PyTest for writing up the test, so that's super easy and very simple syntax actually. So when we are having out a simple syntax, so obviously it is very much easy to learn that perspective for us, right? So it is having out a very simple syntax and that is easy to learn. Further, we'll be seeing up some examples as well. Next, it allows you to skip a subset while the execution. Now, let's say you have written out some test and you just want to skip out a subset at that respective case. Okay. So if you just want to skip out some sort of code in between or some sort of subset in between, so yes, while the execution is going on, you could skip out that respective subset as well. Okay. So in that as well, it's not gonna result you out any sort of error or anything like that if you're skipping out a subset. Fine. So in that perspective only, it is said that it allows you to skip out a subset while the execution of that respective test. Fine. So these are the advantages of PyTest. Now we'll be understanding that how we will be able to install the PyTest. Okay. So in Python programming language, this PyTest absolutely belongs to the Python only. So in the Python programming language, for installing out any of the libraries, we have out a very simple syntax, and that is only used while the installation of any of the library. Okay. So the syntax which we have in Python, you write out pip, you write out install, and after that you write out the respective library name which you want to install out. Now in our case, what we are having, our library name is actually PyTest. So into that case, I could simply write pip, then I could write install, then I could write PyTest. But where to write out this respective command? So again here I would let you know that you have no restrictions in writing up this respective command, that where to now write, where not to write. See, if you are using up any of the IDE, so if that IDE is already having some integrated terminal onto that, so you could use that out. Let's say in my case, I will be using the PyCharm. So PyCharm already has its own terminal. Okay. So in that respective case, you could write on that command into that respective terminal. You could simply write pip install PyTest. Now let's say you're having in some sort of IDE which does not have its terminal for the installation. So you could open up the command prompt, and in the command prompt you could write up this command, that is pip install PyTest. Okay. So hope I'm very much clear about the installation of the PyTest, that for installing any of the library in Python, we have a very simple syntax which is mostly used while the installation of the library. So that syntax is pip install, further your library name. So the syntax for the installation of that respective for the PyTest is pip install, and my library name is PyTest. So it completely becomes a pip install PyTest. So I'll be as well showing you up the installation of this respective PyTest when we move on to the PyCharm IDE. So right here I would take you to the summary to this PyTest. So first of all, we discussed about that what is PyTest. So in the PyTest we discussed up that it is a testing framework which is used to perform out the test. Okay. It as well allows you to write out the test and perform them in a very easy manner. Okay. You can actually build up simple and scalable test in a very easy manner using the PyTest library. And next, it is a tool which automatically finds a written text by you and it prints out that respective test. So this was that what is actually the PyTest. Moving forward, we discussed about the features of PyTest. The features of PyTest includes that first of all, it has the useful plugins. You could call them as extension as well. Then it doesn't need out any API to use. Next, we are having that it is used to run up the unit and the doc test, and then it can be written as a method or a function. Next, we discussed about the advantages of PyTest. The advantages of PyTest are that first, it is free and open source. Second, it allows you to run up the multiple tests in the parallel. It allows you to run an entire subset of the suite of tools. Suite of tools comes under the Selenium. It has a very simple syntax and thus it is very easy to learn as well. Next, it allows you to skip out a subset while the execution. Let's say you are executing something and you want to skip out a subset. So yes, you could do that with the help of the PyTest library. Okay. Now, how about the installation of the PyTest? So installation is very simple. Simply you have the syntax for installation, that is pip install in front of that library name. So our respective library name is PyTest. So you could simply mention a pip install PyTest into your command prompt, into your terminal, into PowerShell, whatever you prefer or whatever you use for installing the libraries, you could use the command onto that, which is pip install PyTest, and it will install out that respective thing for you. Right? So hope I'm very much clear regarding the introduction to the PyTest, that what PyTest is, what are the features, what are the advantages, and what is the installation process. So now here we are going to start with the tools in the PyTest. Okay, so we are going to understand about the different tools which we have here in the PyTest, and that are as well useful for making up the different types of test. Right, so let's move forward here and let's check out that what's the agenda that we are going to follow up here. So the agenda starts up with the very first topic which I'm going to deal with to you is identifying the test files and the functions. Okay, so into that respective thing, we will be checking that how are the test files identified and the functions. Okay. Next, we'll be checking up a very basic implementation of a PyTest of a program, that how to write up the test using the PyTest. Okay. So here in this perspective, I will not use up the PyTest. I would simply use up the functions only. Okay. Next, we will be checking up the file execution with PyTest. Now, let's say here in this, we'll be checking up that how to execute single file and how to execute the multiple files at one single time with the PyTest. Okay, we'll be moving forward with the ways to run the subset of the test suite. So we'll be checking about the subset of the test suites as well, that how we can run that out. Then we'll be checking about the grouping of the test, fixtures in the PyTest, parameterizing test, stopping the test suites after in test fails, and run test in parallel. Okay, so this is how the agenda actually is here for this particular tools in the PyTest. So very first topic here, and that's the identifying the test files and the functions. Okay, so let's move ahead and check that out. So now we are going to understand about the identifying the test files and the functions. So let's see that what do we have here in this respective one. Okay, now let's say you want to run out a test file. Okay, I just put up a scenario, I just put up a case in front of you that you want to run out of test file, but you haven't mentioned up the name of the file. But in that respective case, you want to run out a test file and you haven't mentioned up the name of a file. In that case, what's gonna happen? In that case, PyTest will automatically run the file. Okay, PyTest already has out a format of itself, so it will automatically run out the files of that respective format which are written with the test, and in front of that anything is written, or either with that written with the asterisk test. So if you have out any file of this sort, or you have the files of this respective form, so in that case PyTest will automatically run the files of all of those formats, okay, which you have stored in your directories or the subdirectories. It will quickly run all of those files which are of the format test asterisk or asterisk test if you haven't mentioned up the name of your file which you want to run out. Okay, so what it does, it takes those files, test files actually automatically. Okay, we have a specific format for making of the test file, right? So whenever you follow that respective format, so it will automatically take up that format to be as a test file format, and it will run that accordingly. Right, this is how this actually works out. Okay, now next thing is that it will as well require up a name of test function to start with the test. Now let's say you start out with the test. Okay, so in that case it will require up a name of a test function as well to start with the test. So for start performing of the test and all those cases, it will require up a name of a test function which has to be declared or which has to be used. Fine. Now next is that, let's say, and if a function is of any other format except the test asterisk, then it does not consider them as test functions. That I as well mentioned up previously as well. I would repeat once again that if you are having up a file and that respective file doesn't has up a format of test asterisk or asterisk test, okay, so in that case it never considers them as a test functions, no matter what you have written inside that file, no matter what sort of test you have written there. But if it is not of the test asterisk or asterisk test format, so it is not gonna consider that into the format of the test functions, right? So Hope I am clear here that regarding the identifying of the test files and the functions. So here if I go up once again, so let's say you want to run up a test file and you have not mentioned that what is the name of that respective test file which you want to run out. So in that case, what PyTest is gonna do, PyTest is automatically gonna take up the files which are of the format test asterisk or asterisk test, which are stored in your directories or the subdirectories, and it is going to take up that respective format and it will run up all the files of that asterisk format, asterisk test or test asterisk format automatically. Right, this is what it is going to do up here. Next is it will as well require up a test function to start off with that test. So for starting off with the test, it as well requires up a name of a test function. And if a function is of any other format other than the test asterisk test, then it does not at all considers that as a test function. Right? So hope I am very much clear with this identifying test files and functions to you, that how do we identify the test files and the functions. So now we'll be starting up with our very basic test implementation. Okay. So now I'll be telling you that how we can write up a very basic and a very simple test. Okay. Let's move forward. So we have certain very easy steps that are completely followed, that are completely used wherever we move forward for writing out our test. Okay, so here we have out a very basic test implementation. So let's follow the steps to write up the basic test. So the very first step is that you have to create up a directory. Okay, so the creation of the directory is the very important thing, important part which you have to place. Okay, then inside that respective directory which has been created up by you, create up a test file. Okay, so that for the test file, I already told you that how do we make that? We make that in the format of test asterisk or asterisk test format, right? So into that respective case, you could put up the file name according to, okay, let me tell you. Asterisk means that after the word that is test, you could add anything according to your requirement. Let's say I put up my test file name as test underscore a, or test underscore 1, or test 1, or test 2. File's name could be like this. It's not the case that you have to put up the file name as test asterisk. Okay, it's not that respective case. Either you put test in the starting or you put test at the last, it doesn't matter out. Simply what matters is that test shall be written either in the starting or at the end of your file name. Then only it is going to treat your file as a test file. Let's say I made up my test file as test underscore 1. Okay, test underscore demo. So yes, that is my test file. Okay, so make sure that you write up the correct things. So inside that respective directory which was created by us in the first step, so inside that directory now create up the test file according to the respective name whatever you want to keep, and after that add the code into the test file. Now after that, whatever the code you want to add, whatever the functions you want to write, whatever the program you want to write inside the test file, write that out. Okay, so this is a very simple step. This is how actually we write up a very basic test. Okay, so let's go on to the PyCharm and then I would show you the implementation for the same. Now let's do out a very quick implementation and let's do out the hands on that how do we write up a very basic test, right? So here I am onto the PyCharm IDE, and onto this respective IDE only we will be writing up that respective test. Now it's not compulsory to have the PyCharm only. Whatever the IDE you are comfortable with, you could simply use up that respective IDE. Okay. So hope I am very much clear with this thing to everyone. Now, how do we need to proceed up here is that first of all, you need to go on to this respective, just click on respective folder. Do the right click there, okay? Click on new and click on this Python file. Now put up your respective Python file name, whatever you want to put up. Now remember I told you two conditions in regards of that. The very first condition was you need to put up the test in the starting or test at the last, right? Either in the starting or at the last. but it was compulsory for you to put up the word that is test. Remember? So in that case, what do? Either write out test underscore dash 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 dash, or you write dash 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 underscore test. Both of those would work out. Right, so I have already made up a test file for me, but I would do out one single thing. I could write up a new file here that, let's say, test underscore 2.py. Okay, it would be test underscore 2 only. Okay, great. And hit enter, it will Python file be made up for you. Right here, I have my Python file, which I'll be writing up my test so as to run up the things. Okay, so what I would do, I would put up the basic implementation of the test as well. Secondly, I would as well put up here only that file execution, that how you execute up the respective file. Okay. For the first, I'm going to import up the module, that's the math module, because I'll be using some sort of things of math. So I'll be using up import math. Now I'll be making up my first function. Now in making up the first function as well, you have a thing that you need to mention up test in the starting. Write up test underscore or test, simply test, and in front of that you write up any name, that would work. But if you are making up a test case here, so make sure to have the test make sure to have the test in the prefix only. I would write, let's say, test underscore 1. That would work for me. I put up the colon and get. Okay. Now I'll be, let's say, having n, and let's say I put up a number that's 4. Now I'll be using up here my function, that's assert function. Now what is that used for? Simply when we write up a Python code, onto that what we use? We use up simply the if else conditions. Right? Let's say I want to check up that if this number is equal to that, or if it is greater than or equal to that, the things like that, right? So in that case, we use up this assert function. In the same manner, here in the PyTest, you use up this assert. So it is a sort of condition. Okay, whatever the condition you're gonna put after this assert function, if that condition is true, then it will show that one of your test case have been passed. And if that condition is false, so in that case, it will show that this respective test case has been failed. Okay, so hope I am clear with that. So first I'll be putting math dot square root. In the bracket we have n. Okay, and that is equal to 5. Fine, and the colons are not to be put up. As we use up the print statements before, the same way we use up this assert function. Okay, next test goes as test underscore 2. Okay, getting down. So sorry, here will be 2. Fine. So if the square root of 4 is equal to 2, so in that case, if this condition is true, so this respective test will show as pass. Okay. Getting down here, I'll be putting up other condition. My other condition is assert. And let's say if I put up 6 multiplication 6 is equal to 35. Okay, my second test case which I wanted to put up at that place. So again, the assert is the same function. If your condition is true, so in that case, it will show you that the test case has been passed. Otherwise, your test case will be failed. Now here, this assert is a sort of a function which we have it in the Python only. Okay, so no addition things are to be used up here in this respective case. I'll be putting up my third condition as well, def test underscore, and here goes 3. I put up the bracket and get down here. Here as well goes assert. Let's say my third condition I want to check up, that is 21 equal to 12. Okay, my third condition. Now we know that this respective condition will be true, right? This is the true thing, this is the correct thing, right? This will not be true, this will be a fail, this will not be passed, it will be a fail, because 6 multiplied by 6 is not 35, it's 36, right? Here as well 21 is not equal to 12, so in that case this test will as well be a failed test. Okay, so hope I am clear with this respective thing, all of the 3 cases which I told you. Now before running up this respective test, I have one thing to show you, that what if I remove up this test from every of the functions. What if I remove up this test? Okay, that you as well shall be knowing that what if I remove the test from every of the function, then what it is gonna give you, right? So how do we run this out? For running, I have this terminal already attached onto my PyCharm. So I would open up this terminal and write up here PyTest. So this is the command which you use for running up a prospective test. Now see what it is showing. It is showing collected 0 items and it didn't show anything. Simply it exited out from here. Why? You already made up a test file. Here test underscore 1 was written. That was absolutely okay. That is the correct sort of thing. But again, why it is showing you no corrected items? because you haven't added the test in the starting while making up the function. That is the reason I was saying you to make sure to put up this test in the starting. Now this underscore is not necessary to be put up, okay? Either you put underscore or you do not put. Both of that are the correct cases. See, here I didn't put and here I had put are both the cases. So it will run at both of them as well, okay? So here goes my terminal, okay? And I could simply mention up here as PyTest and hit out enter, okay? Now, so just have out a look that I just got out some sort of result, some sort of output here. Now let's understand out that what do we get here as an output. So I would go up from here. See, previously what it was showing 0 items collected, but now it showed us 3 items collected. Now this green dot which you are seeing in the starting, it means that one test has been passed. And these 2F which you are seeing, it means that 2 tests has been failed. So 1 pass and 2 failed, okay? Now here it shows that test2. Test2 was a function which is showing you the assertion error. Now, what is this assertion error? So see, whenever you put up the assert function and that condition and that respective test has been failed, so it will always generate you up a assertion error. Okay, make sure to remember once again, whenever you are writing up a test, in that you use up the assert function and that condition has been failed. It means your test has been failed. So it is going to raise you up the assertion error. Okay, that is why for the test2 function, let's see what was the function. So this was my test2 function, right? So here we are getting that 6 multiplication 6 we had written up. So that is my test case has been failed up here. Fine, so red line is showing up the failed up, okay? Then my test3 has again failed up. So in this assert 21 is equal to 12. This is as well one of my failed cases because it is not true. So in that case again I am getting up the assertion error. So see at the last as well it is showing you up a very short summary of your test info, that test underscore 1.py. In this test underscore 1.py file, test2 has been failed and this was a condition which you had put on. This has been failed. Then again in the test underscore 1.py file, your test underscore 3 has been failed and this is the respective condition which you had put up here. And at last it is showing you that 2 of your cases have been failed and 1 of your case has been passed, right? So hope I am very much clear with this respective case which I have told you at this place that how to do this out. Now I would be closing this up here. Now let's put up, okay, what I would do, I would comment up all of these 3 cases right here. And I would get down and write up a new conditions here, okay? So def, it is, let's say test underscore 1, put up the colon, get down here, and my first condition, let's say it's assert 21 is equal to 21. Okay, now I would put up the correct test cases. Let's say it's test underscore 2, and here put up the bracket colon, get down, and my second condition goes, let's say it's let that be 3 multiplied by 3 is equal to 9. Okay, so these are the 2 cases which I had put up. Now I would again try running up this sort of file for me. So again I would simply mention up here PyTest and hit up enter. Now let's see that what are we going to get up here as an answer. See what it showed? It showed that 2 items have been collected. It showed 2 green dots. It means both of your files, both of your cases have been passed. And see what is showing? It is showing 2 pass in this much number of seconds, right? So now I'm going to close this out, right? So hope I am very much clear in this case that how do you write up a very basic test, and moving forward with that, how do you simply execute the file. Now here we have executed one single file, right? This was one file only. Now let's say you want to execute, let's say I make up a new test file as well. I would do it here, and second file I am having test underscore 2.py. Okay, I would hit enter, and what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna do control plus Z. So what it will do, whatever I have written up here, it will remove everything. Okay, now everything has been uncommented in my file number 1. In my file number 2, I would quickly write up some sort of things because I want to show you that how to run multiple files and how to run single file. So here I would go with if it's my function name is test underscore first. Let's say my function name. Okay, put up a colon, get down. So here goes assert. Let's say I would be putting up 12 plus 12 is equal to 24. Okay, and here goes my second function def. Into that I have test underscore underscore second. Okay, put up the colon, and let's say here my second condition goes as okay, that would be, let's say 14 minus 2 is equal to 10. Okay, that's double equal to, actually it's not single equal to, it's double equal to. Okay, so 14 minus 2 is equal to 10. Right, let's say these two are the cases. Now what I would do, I would go on and click on the terminal. Fine. Now I have two files, test1 and test2. I would simply write up here as PyTest. Okay, see what it does. It actually ran up both of those test files for me. What it collected in total 5 items. In the test underscore 1.py file, one was the case which has been passed and two have been failed. Let me zoom in so that you could see what I was trying to show you right here. See now right here. Green dot means that one has been passed. FF means that two have been failed. In the test underscore 2 file, one has been passed and one has been failed. So in total, you were having 5 items, right? Now, let's get down here. Now just have to look at what it is showing you. It is showing you that for the test 2, this was the test 2 which you have mentioned and it has been failed. And it show you the assertion error. The reason for that I already told up, right? Getting down in test underscore 3, this was the one which has been failed up. Okay. Test and is test second and test second. Fine. And this is the one which is in the test second which has been failed up. So what is a short summary? So short summary here you have up that in both of those, here goes your summary info that in the test underscore 1.py file, test 2 has been failed up. In test underscore 1.py file, test underscore 3 has been failed. And in test underscore 2.py, test underscore second has been failed. So in total, 3 have been failed and 2 have been passed out. Right? Now, this is the complete overview. Now, it automatically ran both of these test cases for me. It automatically ran both of these test files for me. Now, let's say I want to run up a specific one. In that case, I would write here, I would write PyTest, my file name which I want to run. Let's say that's test underscore 2.py, okay, and dash b, and hit out enter. Now what it is going to do is that, see, it simply ran up only one file for you, and which is test underscore 2, test underscore 2. In this, test underscore first is passed and test underscore second has been failed. So here you have one failed test and one passed test, right? So hope I am very much clear with this respective thing, that first of all, how do you write up a very basic test? Second is how do you run up a single file? And the third is that how do you run up multiple test files as well? Okay. Now let's understand about the ways to run the subset of the test suite. Okay. So we have some different ways. Let's study about them right. So, the subset of the test suites. Test suites, I already told you that we have a 4 set of test suites that I already mentioned up. Say IDE, RC, many we are, 2 more we are having, right? Now, let's say you have many test files and in every file you have many tests as well, right? So, let's say you have many test files for you and in each and every file you have written many tests, okay? Now, let's say you want to run out a specific set of tests only. Let's say you have many files. In that many files, okay, in one single file, you have written many tests. And now you have out a case that you want to run out a specific set of tests in that respective. Okay. So now what are the ways that are used here for running up the subset of the test suites? So there are 2 different ways which are followed out. Okay. The first one is deciding on the basis of markers applied, select the groups to run the test. Now, we have markers here which are actually applied out. That markers are some sort of, you could say, a hint right here, because further we are going to discuss about that in detail. Okay. So there are markers which are actually applied out. So you could run in one way that whatever the markers you have applied, according to that, you could select up the groups and you could run the test. Okay. So this is the one way which you could go ahead with, deciding onto the basis of the markers. Whatever the markers you have put up, according to that, you could select up the groups and run out the test. Okay. Moving second, we have the deciding onto the basis of test names of substring match. Select the groups to run the test. Second way is that you could decide on the basis of the test names of the substring match. Okay, for the substring match, you could decide onto the basis of the test names, and according to that only you could run up that test. Okay, you could select the groups to run up the test in that respective case. Okay, so these are the two different ways which are used to run up the subset of the test suits. Okay, first I told that based upon the markers you could apply that and select the groups to run up the test, and second is that onto the basis of the test names of the substring match you could select up the groups to run the different tests whatever you actually just wanted. So in PyTest you have these cases as well, that let's say you have many test files and in every file you have written so many tests. So in that respective case, you could simply use this out. You could simply put up the things here and you could run them accordingly and get up your desired output or run up your desired test cases, whatever you actually wanted out. Right, so the two ways I already told you in that respective case. Now let's understand about the grouping of the test, right? So we have some sort of command for this as well, but before that we have some pointers to be kept in mind. So let's understand that out. So the functions which are made with the help of the PyTest allows you to put the different markers onto that. Okay. Now this is one of the important cases which actually have to be followed up, that the functions which are made up with the help of the PyTest. Okay, so those respective functions allow you to put up the different markers onto that. Okay, so if you have out a function which is made up with the help of a PyTest, okay, then only you could put up the different markers onto that respective function. Okay, next is that for setting up the features or attributes to the test, we use up the markers. So now, wow, what is the use of the markers? Why are they used? Because since last one more slide, we are just using and checking about the markers and markers. So what are these used for? So for setting up the features or attributes to the test. Okay, whenever you want to set up the features to the attributes or to the test, so in that respective case, in that respective manner, actually, we use up the markers, right? So those are used for setting up the features or the attributes to the test. Next is that parameterize, skip, etc. are some types of inbuilt markers which we have in the Python. So in the PyTest, you have many inbuilt markers as well. So one or two examples are already mentioned up here. Let's say parameterize or skip. So these are the type of inbuilt markers which you have up in the PyTest. There is some, no, not many, but yeah, there are some inbuilt markers which you are having in the PyTest and which you could use for setting up the features or attributes onto the test. So for running up the markers, what's the command which we use out? The command which we use out is PyTest. In front of that, we write up -m. Then we put up the angular brackets and inside that you mention up marker underscore name. So inside that angular brackets, you write up your marker name. Whatever you are actually having up, you write up your marker name. Okay. And then after that, you have -v. So that -v is as well one of the commands only which you have to use out. So the main thing here which is a little different is that inside the angular bracket you need to write up the marker name, and then as well after the PyTest you need to add -m as well. The -v doesn't work out. Okay, so make sure that you do that. So for grouping up the test, first of all, the functions which are made with the help of PyTest only, that allows you to put the different markers onto that. Okay, now okay, let's say you are allowed now to put up the markers. Now when you how, like, why just you use up that markers? So that markers are used up for setting up the features or the attributes to the test. Okay, so to the test we use up the markers which are to be set up. Then you have the parameterize, skip, etc. are some type of inbuilt markers which we have up in the PyTest. So yes, there are inbuilt markers in the PyTest as well, such as parameterize and this. Okay, and for running up the markers, you have out a command here, which is PyTest -m angular bar brackets marker underscore name, and then you have dash. Right, so these are some points regarding the grouping the test. Now let's see that basically how do we put up the markers, right? Hope you remember I told you about the markers as well. That these are one more sort of things which we have out here in a PyTest. So let's check out that how do we put up the markers, okay? Now, but before that, I have one thing for you. See, what I have done. Let's say I have these two files with me. Okay, test underscore one and test underscore two. Now, let's say what if I have a function name that's common. Let's say I have a word that's common in both of the files. Then what is going to happen out? Let's say here I'm having test underscore first. What if I just as well change and make this as test underscore first? Okay. Now what is going to happen? If I go onto my terminal at this respective place, so I'm going to write up a command that's PyTest dash k. And what was my word? My word was first, right? I just put that up and do dash v and hit out enter. So both of the functions which I was having in both of the different files, test underscore one and test underscore two. So both of those functions have been taken up here, right? My test one, test underscore first in test underscore one dot py file is as well passed, and in the test underscore two dot py file, test underscore first is as well passed. Both of those functions are passed actually here, right? So now just have a look at what it is showing me. It is showing me collected three items. Three were deselected and two were selected. Two selected means that those two functions which we are talking about here, those were having the word which is first into their function names. So both of them were selected, and the functions which were not having the word which is first into their function names, that were deselected. Okay, so here I am getting that both of them have been passed, so two passed cases and three deselected. Right, so this is what happens, that whenever you are having up a function name and that function is actually some sort of string. Okay, now I would make that again the one which we have used previously. Fine. Great. So hope you remember out this command now. Okay, now let's learn about putting up the markers. That how do we put up the different markers into our test. So let's say now here I need to import up that pipe. Whenever you're putting up the markers, it's compulsory for you to do that out. Okay. Let's say I make up a function def test underscore a. Let's say. Okay, I put up the bracket, put up the colon, get down here. I use up my assert, and let's say my thing which I want to use is 2 multiplied by 7 is equal to 14. Okay. Now, how to make up the markers? So wherever you have declared up your test, just above that one, put up a @ sign. In front of that, write up here as PyTest. Here goes your function which is mark. Now put up the respective marker which you want to make up. Let's say my marker I want to make up here is completely, let's say let it be A. Fine. So I just put up that respective marker which I wanted to make. And yes, this has been made up a marker by me. This is how you make it up. Let's say this is my second function, def test underscore B. Put up the bracket and put up the colon. Here we have the assert function. And into that, let's say I put up some sort of condition. Let's say I put up that 32 minus 0 is equal to 21. Okay, let's say this is my condition. Again, above that, what I would do, I would make up a marker. So PyTest dot mark dot, let's say this is B. Okay, getting down, let's say I put a one more third function here, def, and let's say now I am having test underscore C. Okay, put up the bracket, put up the colon, and get down. Here you have the assert function. Let's say I put up 21 is equal to 21. Okay, and this is as well done up. Now I would make up the marker for this. @ PyTest dot mark. Okay, that dot mark dot C. Okay, so my third marker again has been made up. So this is how you make up the markers. Let's say this is one of the things which has been made up here. Secondly, into the test file 2, here I would make up some markers. Let me make up some changes into this one only. I would write up here import PyTest. Okay, let me make up the marker here. Let's say that's @ PyTest dot mark dot, and let's say I put up the same name, that's A. Okay, let that be. If I do not put up A, I would put up it some sort of 1. Okay, here as well, let's say I give up the same name, that's PyTest dot mark dot 1. See, whenever you are making up the markers, it's not compulsory for you that each and every time you need to give up different name of marker. It's not compulsory actually. Okay, it totally depends upon your choice that what sort of markers you want to give up here and what sort of things you want to use up. Okay, so let's say here I import up one more, that's the math as well. So import math, and here I am going to put up def, and let's say that's test underscore third. Into the bracket, I put up the colon, get down. Here I have the assert function. Okay. So here let's say I just put up the square root of some sort of. So it's math dot, let's say it's a square root of 12. Okay, is equal to, I put up 2. Okay. And for this as well, I could make up a marker. So I could put up at the rate. Here goes PyTest dot mark dot c. Fine. That has been made up by me. Now, for both of the cases, for both of these test files, test 1 and this test 2, we had made up the markers for both of them, right? Now, how to run this out and what's actually the thing that I was wanting to tell you. First of all, I would write simply the PyTest. Okay, well, let's see that what it results us. So see that it is basically the same only. It is delivering you many sort of things. Okay, assertion error and okay in the test underscore 1 it is showing that the one pass, this 2 is pass and the middle one is failed. Okay, so in total 2 passed, 1 failed. And this test underscore 2 it is showing is that 1 pass and 2 failed. Okay, total 6 items. Okay, I'm going to close this out and I'm going to put up the terminal here. I would put up the command. Let's say that's PyTest dash m. Now for what marker you want to search? Let's say I want to search for the marker that's C. Okay, and put up dash v here. So whatever the marker you want to search up here, you could simply put up that respective marker here at the respective place. Now have out a look. Let me just down this out. In the test underscore 1, we were having the marker C for the test underscore C. So it is showing that here for the test underscore C. Okay, this test underscore C, it is in the test underscore 1 and that is passed. So it means it is showing that 21 is equal to 21, correct? If I go on to test number 2 and for here if I check out this number that's C. If I check out this respective C, the marker which has been made a bias. So into that now my file name is test underscore 2, right? So I just put up that test underscore 2 right here. Now what was my test name? My test name was test underscore third. So that has been quickly entered by me at this place. That's completely okay. And it is showing failed. So it means that this respective test has been failed. So at last what it is showing me? It is showing me that failed test underscore 2.py assert this is equal to this. And 1 failed, 1 passed, 4 deselected and warnings we are having. That's completely okay. You could get up that all sort of things. So no issues in that respective case. But here it is showing that 1 failed and 1 passed. So that's absolutely true, right? 1 failed is and 1 is passed. Right, so this is how you do. Let's say if I give you a one more. Okay, here we had made 1 1. Okay, fine, this would work. A B C. Let's give it a one more try right here. So I would put up here again PyTest dash m. My marker name is let's say 1. Okay, and here we have dash b and hit out it. For this as well, it will give me 1 fail, 1 pass. So let's go above and check that out. So for the test underscore 2 file, my first was 12 plus 12 is equal to 24. That's completely okay. And second was 14 minus 2 is equal to 10. So first one is pass and this test underscore second is fail. And that's absolutely true. Right? Now let's get down here and here we have a summary that in this respective case, this is the failed case and one is failed and one is passed. 4 deselected. Okay. So hope you got up the idea regarding that how do you completely make up different markers here respect to different types of functions whichever you are having. So markers could be made for all of the functions, all the test cases which have been defined by you, and for those respective test cases you could make up the markers, right? After making up the markers you could simply give the same marker names or you could give up the different marker names as well, right? So and what's the use of the marker that I have already told you in the PPTs which we have discussed regarding the markers, regarding everything which we have discussed out. Okay, so in that case I did already mention up that what's the use of the respective markers right here at this right place. Now let's discuss about the fixtures in the PyTest. That what are the fixtures in the PyTest and how we just use those out. Great. So here we have the fixtures in the PyTest. So what are the fixtures first of all? So the functions which you run before the test functions on which they are applied is called the fixture. Okay, so the functions which you run before test functions on which those are applied is called up the fixtures. Fine. So hope I'm clear with this. that what are the functions for the fixtures. So we have some functions which actually run before the test functions. Right, before the test functions, there are some functions which we apply out, and those applied out functions run before the test functions. So those are called as fixtures. Right now, what are these used for? So whenever you want to store up some data to the test. Okay, so whenever you want to store up some data to the test, so in that case, the fixtures are used. Fine. Now, what's the syntax for marking up a function? Marking up a fixture actually, for making up a fixture. So in that you have @PyTest dot fixture. Now, in the last one, when you just one second, let me take you to that. When you learned about the marker as well. So for marking up as well, you have the same command which is somewhat @ and after that you have the marker. Okay, this is what command is completely used up at that respective place. Fine. So for the fixtures in the PyTest, the functions which run before the test functions onto which those are applied. So there are some sort of functions which are run before the test functions. So that are called as the fixtures, and these are used for storing the data to the test. So the syntax which goes here for marking up a function is @PyTest dot fixture. It's very simple, right? @PyTest dot fixture. Now let's quickly check out regarding the how do we add up the fixtures in our test. So here I would be making up now a new file. So my new file is test underscore, let's say that's 3. Okay, and hit enter. My next test file has been made up for me right here at this right place. Let's get started. First of all, I'm going to import up the PyTest. Now please listen to me one thing very carefully right here. That after you have written up the very basic test, a very basic PyTest in which you are neither using fixtures nor the markers, anything, the things like that you are not using in this test. So in that relevant case, you do not need to mention up the PyTest. You do not need to import. But in the cases when you are using up the fixtures, when you are using up the markers, so in all of those respective cases, it's compulsory for you to import up the PyTest module. Otherwise, it's gonna give you different sort of errors. Okay. So make sure you do out this respective thing. I would make up a function here def take underscore value. Okay. Now we after we studied about the fixtures, that what are the fixtures? The fixtures are basically run before your test cases. These are type of functions which run before your test cases. Right, so in that same case, we're going to put up here, let's say the value for I am having as 20. Okay, and here I am having here as return I. A very simple program I have written, but what I'm going to do is that I'm going to make up a fixture here. How do we do that? We write up here PyTest, and here goes my fixture, Fixture. This is how you make up a fixture. Now, whenever you are going to run out this respective program, so whatever the functions, whatever the test cases, you're going to write out after this function. So those test case will run afterwards. First of all, this fixture will run out for you. After that, those test cases will be running. Okay. Let's say my test cases def test underscore check. Okay, check underscore 1. Okay, and I put up the bracket like this, get down. Okay, so let's put up a case that assert, so I multiplied by 2 is equal to 4. Okay, let's say this is my respective case which we have put on. Now, here one thing to mention up here, actually I just wrote that to show you. One thing to mention that if you want to put up this value, that is I. So in that case, you need to mention up the respective function name which you are using up here. Okay, assert underscore value multiplied by 2 is equal to 4. Now let's say I want to make up our next one as well. So it's test underscore check underscore 2. Okay, I put up a bracket right here. I get down here for the assert function. One second, let me get down. Assert. Then we have take underscore value minus 10 is equal to 11. Okay. Now, first of all, I would just explain you a little bit right here. Then I would move forward with any of the rest of the thing. Okay. See, first of all, importing PyTest was very important for you, for me. Actually, that's the reason I already mentioned up with you that why was it important, because right here at this right place, I wanted to mention up this PyTest because I am using up the fixtures. So if you are writing up a very simple test, It means if you're writing a very simple test without any fixtures, without anything right here, then you do not use the PyTest. But if you are using any of the things, any add-ons for writing up your test, so in that case, it's very important for you to use up this PyTest library. So import that out. Next, fixtures were the function which ran before your test gets executed, right? Fixtures were a sort of function which will run before your test gets executed. So first of all, this respective function is going to run out. The take underscore value function will run. After that, your test will actually work out. Okay, so this is how it's going to proceed up. So here I just mentioned up a value for I and simply returned I right here. Okay, then I declared a function test check one. Now please see, take underscore value I mentioned because this was not a test case which has to be tested. That is the reason I didn't mention up test in the starting. But now these are my test cases which are to be tested and are to be judged upon the pass or fail. So now in that relevant case, it was very important for me to write up this test in the starting. Otherwise, it will not consider these as a test case. I would again repeat, I'm repeating from the starting of the hands-on that make sure whenever you are writing up a function, so you use up the test in the starting. Okay, please make sure. Fine. So yes, that's done. This test underscore check underscore 2 is done and this is all sorted. Let's quickly open up the terminal right here. Okay, now after terminal, let's check out that how do we write up that thing, respective thing. So now what we'll be doing is that we will be mentioning up that respective value, that respective, I would say, word which we have used up common in both of the functions. So we have used the common words which is check, right? So I would write up that only in some sort of condition. So it is PyTest dash k and we have the word which is check dash and hit out enter. Okay. So great, here we are having up test underscore 3, test underscore 3. In both of these, what it is showing that okay, unsupported operands. So it has two failed cases and one. Okay, it is how come this 1 second. Let's go above and check it out. So 20 multiplication. Okay, 1 second. Let me minimize this for a while. So take underscore value I is equal to 20, return I, that's completely okay. Test check 1, take value 2, assert take value minus 10 multiply 2 is equal to 40 is equal to check 1, check 2. Oh, I guess that's completely correct. I do not found out any sort of issue right here. Let me go above very quickly. Let me open up the same terminal. Let's see that what it is coming actually here. Okay. Right here. Let me just check it out about that. What is the sort of okay, it is showing that unsupported operand, that's multiplication. Let me go above. Okay, 8 items failed field. 1 second, let me check it out right here. And what if I put up this percent sign like this? And what if I put up like this? Then let's see what's gonna happen. I would open up the terminal. I would write up the same command, PyTest. After that, we are having dash k. Other than that, I was having check dash b and hit out enter. Right? Let's see what's happening. So yeah, two failed, that's completely okay, but it is not supporting up the operand. But I don't know why it's not supporting up that respective operand, because percent and all of these sort of things are to be actually taken up. PyTest has been imported up by us. After that, we have taken up the value. Input we have taken, return we have done, we have made up the function test by the name which is test. Oh, I am so sorry, I didn't input it up the values here. I didn't input it up the values, so it will show you the error. Great. So here we have to put up that respective variable, that respective function name, okay, in which we are taking up the value, that take underscore value. Okay. Right here I have to put take underscore value. It was important. And now I would put up my respective sign. I would put up my respective sign as I needed it out. Let's go on to the terminal and write it, check it out, try. And it is, let's say, PyTest. After that, we have dash k. We have the word that's check and we have the word that's sweet. Hit out enter. Now let's see that what's gonna happen. So I guess now it's working. Great, it's working. So see what it showed us. So right here it showed me that okay, for the one it is passed. So for the check underscore 1 it is passed. So for the this one, so 20 multiplication 2 is equal to 40. Yes, absolutely, that has been passed out. And for the check underscore 2, it has been failed up. So here test underscore check underscore 2. So yes, 20 minus 10 is not 11, it's 10. So yes, that has been failed up, right? So one failed, one passed, is deselected. Okay, now I'm gonna close this out right at this place. Great. So we had, I would comment this everything. Fine. Now let's once again run out because it was previously showing up the things that won't were actually to be shown up. So PyTest dash k, here goes check, chvck check, and dash we hit out enter. It will be very much clear. So see right here that it has collected two items. On a test underscore 3.py file, it has collected this test check 1 that has been passed, and this test check 2 has been failed. So what was here? See, it has taken the value as 20, as I already told you that it will automatically take up that. So first of all, the fixture will run. After running of that respective fixture, your respective test cases will run. So test check 2 has been done and its value has been taken and everything has been sorted, and at last you're getting up the assertion error because the test has been failed, and one failed, one passed test you are getting up, right? Now let's learn about the parameterizing the test, right? We already learned about many of the topics into the previous. Now let's go ahead and learn about this respective topic, that what's the meaning of rate this here. Okay. Now, how to put up some sort of parameters or some sort of things like that, okay? Let's understand about that perspective. So, when we want to run up a particular test, okay? Now, let's say you want to give multiple inputs to that respective test, okay? Multiple inputs, you understand, right? That let's say you are having up a form and you just put up a test, and in that regards, you have many inputs to put up there. Like, let's say you have 3 to 4 inputs that can be like written up at that respective place. So in that respective case, you use up the parameterizing of the test. Now, from the term that's parameterizing, hope you understand about this a little bit, because we always and we all like we study in Python that whenever we are having up a function, so into that respective function, we pass up some sort of parameter, right? So this parameterizing like this word is especially related to that perspective only. Okay, so make sure to remember this in a way that parameterizing of the test means that whenever you want to run up the test for multiple inputs, in that respective case you use up the parameterizing of the test. Great, hope I am very much clear with this. Now, marker is made for parameterizing the test. Okay, into some sort of minutes before only we started about the markers, right? That how do we set up the markers onto a test. So how are those markers actually made up? Okay, well, what's the use? Okay, so the marker is used for parameterizing the test. So in the case, whenever you want to set up or give up some multiple inputs, okay, in that respective place, in that respective manner, a marker is made. Okay, so hope now you could relate this from the previous one, that's the marker, you could relate it right here, that what's the use of those respective things are these places. Right, now what's the syntax that we use out? That's again very super easy to use up the syntax. It's @pytest dot mark dot parameterize. Okay, so you put up @pytest dot mark dot parameterize, and it absolutely works wonderfully for you. Great, so hope I am very much clear with this parameterizing of the test, that how you do up the parameterizing and why do you actually use that out, right? And what's the syntax for doing up that respective thing. Now let's see that how do we parameterize up the test. I would make up a new test file here, Python file, and here goes my test underscore 4. Okay, hit out enter. Fine, so here I'm going to parameterize up the test. So first of all, I'm going to import up the PyTest. Okay, now how do we make up the parameterize of the test? We put up @sign in the very starting. Okay, after that what you do, you write up here PyTest mark dot, and here you put up the function that's parameterize. Okay, parameterize into the bracket. Now for now we would just keep up this bracket blank, we would add that afterwards. Okay, I want to declare up a function that's def, and my function name is test underscore mul. Okay, so we are going to do out some multiplication sort of thing. So here goes my two parameters n comma find. My two parameters are here. Put up the colon, and here I'm having up a assert function. Okay, assert. I'm going to put up n multiplication n is equal to find. Okay, And what are the n values which I am having? So that I will be setting up inside the parameterize. Okay. So first of all, I need to declare the parameter, that's n. Second, again, I need to declare the one, that's final. Now, after that, putting up a comma, I'll be making up a list. Inside a list, I'll be declaring different tuples. Into those tuples, I'm going to put up the value for n and the value for final. Let's say it's 5, comma 50. Again, my second tuple goes 6, comma 60. Okay. And let's say my third tuple goes 7, comma 21. Okay. Let's say these are my three tuples which I had made up here with different sort of value. Okay. Now, how it is actually going to work, how it is actually going to take place is that first one, my parameterized function has been declared. I have two parameters, n and final. So here it finds about n and final, and here is my function that I had made up, that is my test case, right? My condition which I have applied, 10 multiplication n. What's the value for n? The value for n we are having a 50. So 10 multiplication 50 is equal to what's the value for final? That's 50. So yes, this condition is true. So one of your test cases will be passed. Same goes for 6, comma 60. So 10 multiplication 6 is equal to 60 in the final. Okay. Same goes for your third condition, 7, comma 21. So 10 multiplication 7 is equal to 70. But here we have 21. So your two test cases will be passed and one of your test case will be failed. Let's try that out. 1 second. This doesn't need to be in the different brackets. So okay, do not put different inverted commas. Keep that in single inverted comma only, because this is n and this is final. Go on to the terminal right here, write a PyTest dash k, you have mul, and here we have dash v. Hit up the enter here. Great. Let's go ahead, check that out. So see what it did, it collected three items. So you're having in total 3, 5, comma 50, 6, comma 60, and 7, comma 21. Right? Let's get down. Here you have the failures. So test underscore mul, and for this test case it has been failed, which is 7 minus 21. For this it has failed. Okay. So n value was 7, final value was 21. So here you have PyTest or parameterized function, and this has been failed up. Here this respective test has been failed up, right? So at last you got up the assertion error because you used up the assert function. So whenever an assert function fails up, you get out the assertion error. So at last, what is my short summary? My short summary info is the failed test, that is in the file test underscore 4.py. My function which has been failed is test underscore mul. Assert is this condition which you had put up. So in total, you have one failed case and you have two passed cases. So hope I am very much clear with this respective thing. That's how it works. Now let's see if I put up this as well. Correct if I put it up 70. If I again go on to my terminal, write up here PyTest dash k. Here you have mul and you have dash v, and hit up enter. Now it is going to see show up all three cases have been passed, because 5 multiplication 10 is 50, 6 multiplication 10 is 60, and 7 multiplication 10 is 70. So my all the three test cases have been actually passed up here. Right? So hope you are pretty much clear with this respective thing about the parameterized function as well, stopping the test suits after the n test fails. Now, when you want to stop up the test suits after the n test fails, now let's say you have some sort of value, some sort of number. So as soon as that number of tests fails, what you want to stop up those test suits. Okay, so now we are going to understand about that respective thing. So we have out a function that max fail. I would repeat that again. It's max, max max, and fail fail. So this is one function which helps you to stop up the test suits after the n test fails. Okay, this max fail is a function which helps you to stop up that respective thing, which is a function first of all which is used to stop up the test suits after the n test fails. Let's say what you want to start. Let's say as soon as the three test fails. Okay, let's say I just put up a very simple case here, that let's say whenever the three test cases fail, after that you want to stop up that test too. Okay, so in that case this max fail actually. Okay, max fail is a function which allows you to do so. Max fail means that after this maximum number of fails, I want to stop running up my test suit. Okay, So the syntax for the same we have PyTest. You could put up a small dash. Okay, it's double dash actually. PyTest double dash. Then you have respective function which I told you. That's the marks fail function, and is equal to inside the angular brackets. You're gonna put up your respective number for which you want to stop after this respective number of test fails. You want to stop up your test too. Okay, so for that you have the num, which is a parameter, and you need to put up this value according to your. So here we have that num refers to the number of test fails after you want to stop the test. That only I told you that n is respective num, that num is a respective parameter or respective variable into which you are going to put up some value, that after this value of test fails, just stop up my test suite at that respective test. Next, we're having a topic that is running a test in parallel. Okay, that I told you in the very starting about the PyTest only, that PyTest allows you to run up the test in parallel, right? But how does that allow? Let's see that out. Now, we have some more information regarding the PyTest only. First of all, that it is one of the tools that runs up the sequential order, that is by default. By default, PyTest runs up the test in a sequential order. It means that whatever the sequence of the functions are made, let's say on the very first one, I have put up the function that is 1. Down that, I just put up the function that is 2. Down the 2, I put up the function that is 3. So it will run up the things in a sequential manner only. First of all, the 1 will run, then the 2 will be running, after that the 3 will be running. So it will run in that such way. Okay. So this is what is called as a sequential order. Okay. So this is the by default one for the Python. Now, so let's say you have out a test suite. Okay. And that test suite contains n number of test files. You put up n number of test files. You have 50, you have 100, you have 200, whatever you are having, you put up those test files there. Okay. Now, in each test file, there are lots of tests as well which are put up, which you perform. You write up that lots and lots of tests as well inside that. Now, if you are having up a test suite contains many test files, and those each test file contains a lot of tests into that. A huge execution time is needed, right? There's a long procedure and even a very huge execution time is needed. So what happens? So to avoid that respective huge execution time, you have an option in PyTest, and that respective allows you to run up the test in the parallel. Okay. By default, PyTest runs up the test in sequential order, but you have an option for running up the test in the parallel in the PyTest as well, right? So this is why actually there is a need for running up the test in the parallel. Okay, this is the need for doing this actually, fine. Now what's the command for installing up the same thing is that write a pip, then install your go PyTest, put up a dash, and in front of that write x this. Okay, this is the command which is used for installing the requirement for running up the test in the parallel. Fine. So hope I am very much clear with this respective thing as well, that how are we going to proceed on with this particular thing, right? Great. Moving forward, I have a summary of all the topics which we have studied till now. Let's go back very quickly and understand about all the summary of all the topics which we have studied till now. First of all, he studied about identifying the test files and functions. So in that case, we have taken up some sort of case that let's say you want to run up a test file, okay, but you did not mention that what test file you want to run. So in that case, whatever the files will be into your directory, which will be having up the name of test in the starting or in the last, so that respective files will be automatically run by the PyTest. Okay, so in whatever the file you have kept up the name as test, either in the starting or at the last, so PyTest automatically understands those files as the PyTest files, and it automatically run those out, right? So hope I am clear with this respective thing in regards of for the identifying of the test files and the function. Okay. Now moving forward, you have that it as well requires a name of a test function to start with the test. So as I told you that wherever it finds that test is written in the suffix, means in the starting or at the last. So it will treat them as a test file, right? And if a function is of any other format except the test asterisk, then it does not consider them as a test function. Okay, so now let's try up here the next topic here that we are having, that's the max fail function, right? You remember I told you that we have out a function here that after this much number of maximum failures, just stop running up my test suite at that respective case. It was stop running up the test suite at n number of test fails, right? Let's quickly do out the practical for that as well. So I would comment this out. Let's do it right here in this file only. Okay, no need to make up a new file or the sort of things like that. So first of all, I'm going to import up the PyTest module. Okay, import up the PyTest. And what I would do, I would import a math as well. Let's use that out a little bit. Otherwise, we are writing up some sort of very easy program. So let's use up some different things as well. So I use up this math here. Okay, I would make up my function def. And it would be, now let's say def my test name is add. Okay, add underscore fail. And into the bracket, I put it like this, put up the colon, get down. Fine. Let's see if I declare up a n value, let's say that's 20. Okay. I use up my assert function here. The n plus n is equal to 40. My first condition. Okay. I could use it up like this. If, let's say now I find up the square root. So test underscore that's SR, let's say. Okay. SR underscore fit. Put up the brackets. Get down. Now I would find up the square root, let's say for that is 9. So here goes up my condition that assert and my square root that's math dot square root n is equal to, okay, I put up the wrong value. Let's get down and add up our third case here, def. Let's say that's test underscore m underscore fit. That's the multiplication sort of thing actually, okay? So here I could simply write up assert 6 multiplication 5 is equal to 31. Okay, let's say I had put up this sort of number of cases here in this particular one. I have 3 test cases. For I have one for the PyTest, second for the math. So here we have test add fail. It's test SR fail and it's test underscore m underscore fail. Right, we have all of these things. Now, what was the marks fail function used for? It was whatever the number you put in front of marks fail function. So as soon as that number of test cases have been, it will not move forward with that and will stop up at that respective place only. Let me show you how. Let's see if I put up the terminal here. I open up and write up the command that's PyTest. What's my file name? My file name is test underscore 4.py, my file name. Okay. Right here. Then we have dash v. We have double dash here and that's max fail function. And let's put a 1. It means that in my test underscore 4.py file, as soon as I get up the maximum failure 1, if I get out one failed case, in that case, stop executing up my program. See what it did. Let me go up at the respective place and let me show you how. See what it did, it collected up the 3 items from my file, but it ran only 2. Why? Because my maximum condition was that as soon as one of my max fail value was 1, so it means as soon as one test case has been failed, stop executing up my file at that respective case only. So one of my test case failed at this respective point, which is test underscore sr dot fail. This was my wrong condition. So as soon as it find that okay, one maximum value was 1 and one test case has been failed. So now I would not move forward with this respective thing. So it had not taken up this respective test case here. So see, it showed that only test underscore fail and sr underscore fail. Only 2 it is showing. And for test underscore sr dot fail, it is showing that this one is the one which has been filled up. You got up the assertion error and one failed, one passed. Okay. And see what it showed. It showed stopping after one failures. Stopping after one. Now, let's say I run up this once again. Okay. Now let's say I wrote up here as PyTest. My file name was test underscore underscore 4.py dash p double dash max fail, and if here I put up the value 2. Now when it will get up the maximum failures as 2, it will stop up at that respective place. Now how about a look that my first case was passed, but that was add fail. Second is failed SR fail, and third one, that is M underscore fail, that has again been failed up. So these are my failures. My failure is test underscore SR dot fail, and this is my another failure, test underscore M underscore fail. And see what it is showing. It is showing that it is stopped after 2 failures. So 2 are failed and 1 is passed. Right? So I hope you got up the idea regarding the max fail function as well. That how do you use up this max fail function, and what's the idea, how do you put it this up right here, and how do you get up these respective things at this respective place, right? So hope I am very much clear with all of these things to you, that how do we do up the hands-on for all of the topics which we have studied under the PyTest module. Now let's take out a quick summary of all the PPTs, all the deck files which we have dealt till now. Let's go there. Moving forward, we have out a very basic test implementations. In that, we studied about the 3 steps which are needed. The first one is for creating up a directory. Second one is that inside that directory, create up the test file. And the third one is that adding the code into the test file. Okay. Moving forward, we have that how do we execute up the file with the PyTest. So when you have written up your code, after that in PyTest, you could run up a single test file as well as multiple test files. So it gives you the option in that. You have this respective option as well for running up the test files in multiple as well. Okay. So the syntax which goes is following is a syntax that you put up single file slash specific file. So in that case, you have PyTest file name, and after that you put up dash v, and whenever you want to run the multiple files, okay, so into that case you put up PyTest, and in front of that you put up dash v. Now what's the ways to run up the subset of the test suite? So you have mainly 2 ways here. Now okay, mainly 2 ways, but let's understand about that as well. So let's say you have many test files, and in every file you have many tests as well. Okay, now you want to run up a specific set of tests, right? So in that case, you have 2 ways to run up those subsets of the test suites. First one is that deciding on the basis of the markers applies, you could select up the group to run up the test. Okay, so for running up the test, you could select up the groups, and that's on the basis of markers applied. Second one is that you could select up the groups to run the test onto the basis of the test names of the substring match. Right? Hope I'm clear with that. Next, we are having up the grouping the test. So in that case, let's study about that as well. So now what are the functions are made with the help of the PyTest? It allows you to put up different markers onto that. Right? So for setting up those features or attributes in the test, we use up the markers. Okay. And there are different sort of markers like parameterize, skip. So these are some sort of inbuilt markers which you have. Remember, I told you about parameterizing the test in a very detailed right some minutes before, right? Remember that out, okay? Now, for running up those markers, we have a command, and that is PyTest double dash m. You put up the marker name in between, and after that write out dash, and it will run up the things for you, okay? What are fixtures in PyTest? So the functions which run before the test functions onto which they are applied is called functions. So the functions which run before the test functions on which they are applied is called up the fixtures, right? So we use up the fixtures for storing some data to the test. So the syntax which we have is @PyTest.fixture. Next, we are having the parameterizing the test. So whenever you want to run up the test for multiple inputs, let's say you want to give a multiple inputs. So in that case, whenever you want to run up the test, so in that respective case, you use up the parameterizing of the test. Okay. Now in that case, a marker is made for parameterizing of the test. The syntax goes is @PyTest.mark.parameterize. Okay. Now stopping up the test suites after the end test fails. Let's say you are running up the test and you want that till the time you reach up this maximum number of test fields. As soon as you reach that point out, just stop up your test suits at that respective place. So you have a function that's named as max fail. So max fail is a function which is used to stop the test suits after the end test fails. Okay. The syntax for the same is PyTest double dash max fail is equal to num. You put up the respective number here, that at what point, after what number you want to stop up the test suit. Okay. Moving forward, we have running the test in parallel. So PyTest is a tool which runs the test in a sequential order, that is by default. So in that case, now a test suite contains n number of test files, and those test files have a lot of tests into that. Right. So therefore, a huge execution time is needed. So to avoid up that execution time, we run up the test in the parallel, and we as well have up this option in the PyTest. So the command for the same is pip install PyTest -xtest. Right. So hope I am very much clear with all of these things, whatever I told you in regards of this PyTest, whatever the practicals we have done, and whatever topics I told you for the PyTest. Hope I am very much clear with this. Right. So this is all for this video. Till then, thank you and take care.
If you haven't subscribed for our channel yet, I would request you to hit the subscribe button and turn on notification bell so that you don't miss any new updates or video releases from Great Learning. If you enjoy this video, show us some love and do like this video. Knowledge increases by sharing, so make sure you share this video with your friends and colleagues. Make sure you comment on this video. Any queries or suggestions, I'll be more than happy to respond to all of them.